What is the forgotten adoption option? Many are aware of infant international adoption, where you hire an agency, often wait a long time, and spend tens of thousands of dollars. And then there's becoming a foster parent, where you may or may not adopt the children. But there is a third option, where you adopt children directly from the foster care system. I call this the forgotten adoption option. In fact, 30% of children currently in foster care are adoptable, and you don't need to be a traditional foster parent to adopt them. Hi there, I am Marcy Bursack. After blogging my experience adopting a pair of biological siblings through the foster care system, people started asking me to explain the process to them. And it's difficult to navigate, but the families I mentor feel that knowing the barriers, the challenges, and what to expect has actually helped them persevere and pursue their dream of adopting. And while I would love to have a really big family, adopting thousands of children isn't exactly realistic, but I can teach others how. Whether you're trying to figure out how to get started, you're battling some doubts and fears, or maybe you know someone who wants to adopt, I'm here with resources to help others discern if foster care adoption is the path for them. And if it is, I have practical tips and resources for them as well. You can find all of these resources, which include my blog, 3 books, an app, and a classroom lesson at ForgottenAdoptionOption.com. However you found this podcast, I am so glad that you did. I want to extend an invitation to you to reach out to me to ask anything on your heart. My goal is to help every waiting child be in their forever family. And that's why I host this podcast. Welcome to the Forgotten Adoption Option podcast. In this episode, we will discuss mental health and emotional literacy for children. Justine Froelker is an educator who uses storytelling, humor, and passion to help individuals rise from difficulty, cope with emotions, and move forward in a healthy, authentic way. Hey, Justine.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Really excited to talk mental health. We want to help people be brave in this space and have the tools they need. So Justine and I met through a mutual friend several months ago, and I immediately noticed, and if you follow her on social, she has a very, very deep passion for being real. And I really enjoyed feeling supported and loved by her as we coordinated and moved our date for the podcast around. We both are navigating the world of aging parents, and she's been so empathetic and so supportive. And so in time for Christmas, Justine has a new children's book coming out. And I really felt like now was the time to introduce all of you to her. So Justine, let's start off. I'd love if you could let our guests know a bit about you, maybe tell us what you do and really what led you down this path.
Yeah. So I'm a licensed professional counselor by trade. So I started in psychology really, really young. I've always been a psych major. And so I've been in some capacity of traditional mental health, personal, professional development for over 21 years at this point. And so I started my career working with clients who struggle with addiction, and then kind of stumbled into working with clients who struggle with eating disorders. And then I was in private practice for 11 years, doing a lot of work around anxiety, depression. My husband and I went through an infertility journey. So then it of course, once I did my own work, kind of shifted to that realm, and grief and loss, especially. And then now the last, I guess it's been 6 years since I left my private practice. And so I left my private practice to focus on speaking and delivering keynotes, workshops, retreats, and trainings. I'm trained by Brene Brown. So I'm a certified Daring Way and Dare to Lead facilitator. So my focus now is I get to work with organizations of all kinds, and I go in and I help them create more courageous cultures, where we can really fully show up as our full selves at home and at work, where we know how to feel our emotions and cope with them, and move our bodies so that they move through us, and so that they don't own us. And we have curious conversations using curious language. It's just, how do we human well? Most of us were not taught how to love and lead ourselves well, which is our only chance of loving and leading others well too. So it's just these human skills that I get to teach every day, and I love it. And I bring the therapeutic side of things to every room. And I always kind of joke when I'm in a room with leaders, especially CEOs. I'm like, most rooms that I walk into, one, they're not super happy to see me. And especially once they kind of learn oh my gosh, our facilitator's a therapist, right? But most of the people I work with, they won't go to counseling. Right. They'll never see a therapist for lots of different reasons. And so I had somebody once tell me after keynote, she goes, you should call it office therapy, because this is the best keynote I've ever had in my whole life. Right. it applies to my whole life. And so I'm just very passionate about helping people befriend their emotions so that their emotions don't own them. And more than that, I really, really want people to know how loved they are and how much they matter.
Which I love so much of all of that, because in the foster care adoption space, there's so much around how do we, as the caregiver, go through our own journey in this space? How do we help our children feel supported and loved and connected to all of us? So I'm so excited I further in. So self-care, mental health, overall emotional well-being, they're really important, like you said, to our human experience, being human. And specifically in the foster care adoption space, parenting can be really weighty and complicated when you're dealing with kids that have a background, that have experienced different things, and maybe you don't know a lot of the what's of that. And I'm curious what encouragement you can offer to parents who either might want to begin or step up their investment in their own personal mental health.
Yeah. For me, it's going to come back to you, right? Like I want people to do their work, right? Like self-awareness and self-love matters. That's one of the pieces that we really teach in the Dare to Lead work. And so like you're having a reaction to someone or something, it's about you. It is way more about you than it is about them. And so like, I think, especially in that space of adoption, foster care, all of that, infertility journey, grief, loss, parenthood, do your work so that you're not working your stuff out on your kids. Right.
Okay. But Justine, this is stuff I hear, right? Like, but I don't have time. I don't know who to ask. I don't feel comfortable. Like, how do I work through that as an adult that's juggling responsibility and feeling vulnerable with someone that I've never met before? Like, how do you overcome those pieces?
Yeah. Because I do think that life will make you eventually, right? Like at some point you won't be able to, you can't afford not to do your own work, right? And so like there's this element of like but I also think those pieces that come up and get in the way of what we can call them excuses, because sometimes they just downright are. And in reality though, I more so get curious about how come someone feels like they're not worthy of being happy and healthy themselves. And it's really hard to raise happy and healthy children if you're not happy and healthy yourself. You cannot give what you do not have. You just can't. Like your strongest tool in the toolbox is to model the work, be the adult you want your children to grow into, be the leader you want your team members to be. Like model the work. If you're really struggling to meet yourself with care and love, trust, forgiveness, generosity, it's really hard to meet other people with those things, including your kiddos. I know you love them a ton. I know that. And it's the hardest job. It is. And you can't give what you don't have.
I'm just gonna like give it a second for people to process that. I think that's hard to hear. That's
so
tough
hard.
love. That's tough love right there. And I think that's such a gift. So listeners, hang in there. We're gonna go through a few more topics, but I think what's so good about what Justine is sharing is this is truth. There's healing in this, there's maturity in this, there's growth, there's all the things. And so if you just hated what she said and you want to turn this off, I want to encourage you to hang in there, because their mental health can be scary and weird and awkward and all the things. But when we just kind of try to become, unpack some of the things, we really can go through a lot. And so Justine, as we talk through this, there's a specific listener I wonder if you would speak to, or a specific kind of audience that listens to us. And that's people that have aged out of the foster care system. And so I often tell the families I'm coaching to think about a situation in a first person perspective, right? Like think about it as the caseworker who's overwhelmed, and to help us be more gentle and more understanding. And so specifically, I'm wondering for those listeners that have aged out of the foster care system, and to children, even of the families that I coach, so kids that are currently in a forever family being raised, I'm wondering, when you were young and you struggled to have the words, or you felt uncomfortable kind of working through your own stuff, what would you advise young minds, maybe early 20s, maybe younger? How can we begin to feel comfortable in our own stories and our own skin?
There's so much of like, our emotions are meant to lead us, guide us, help us. They're meant to be like the fun part, right? Except So we're just not often taught how to name them accurately, appropriately, to speak them out loud to someone who loves and trusts us, to cope with them in a healthy way. I mean, especially here in America, we cope with our emotions horribly. Like, we just don't, we do not know how to feel our feelings, and we're very sick because of it. And so, like, let alone when we may have a trauma history, right? Or we have a lot of hurt in our past. And so, like, there's this element of, I want people to know that, like, the hard parts of your story don't have to be your whole story. Like, they can be. You can wallow if you want. I mean, I am a therapist. Some of the stories that I have heard are horrific. And and some of the stories that I've heard, those people, like, they would have every right to stay sick and unhealthy if they wanted to. And I want them to know that they deserve more than the stories that they've been told, right? Like, they don't have to buy into or contract with or allow those stories to be spoken over them, to speak those stories over themselves, like those old stories of who we used to be, or who we have to be, or who we're supposed to be, or who our traumas make us, or our hurts make us, or the labels that are put on us. Like, you get to write your own story. And in order to do that, though, you have to do this work to really recognize how emotions show up in you, to cope with them in a healthy way, to ask yourself curious questions like, what is this really about? What is this bringing up for me? What's the story I'm making up? What is this really tied to? Am I tired and hungry? Because, I mean, half the time it's just that, right? Like, we're just tired and hungry, and that's why we're, like, freaking out about something. But, like, the stories you've been told don't have to be the stories that you live by. And I do think more than that, there's a really big piece in the work that Brene does, but, like, we talk about, like, you belong everywhere. You belong to yourself most of all. And that's different than fitting in. Right. And so, like, I know all of us, but maybe especially those that have aged out of the system, right? Like, they may, like, they don't feel like they fit anywhere. I need them to know that they belong everywhere, though. They do. They have breath. They are not done. They matter. They are loved. You are loved. You are loved more than you can imagine.
That's so beautiful. And I think I feel like you're speaking to all of us in a different way, if I can imagine all of our listeners with us. But at the same time, I can hear people thinking, okay, Justine, I hear you. I know I need to work on this. And not only do I know how to get started, but, like, how long do I have to commit to this process? Like, do I have to sign up for years? Is it a couple weeks? Like, how long will it take me to feel like I'm at a better place than now? What do you tell people?
Oh, geez. If only there was, like, a finish line to all of this, right? But it's a process. This is life. There will be seasons that you suck at self-care, at loving yourself well, right? Like, there are going to be seasons that you are the last person on your list because everyone else comes above you. Like, there will be those seasons, even when you're doing the work and you know better and you're in a good place, you will misstep. You will fall off track. We are human beings. And so, like, it's a process. It's a practice. It's never going to be perfection. And so, like, I always tell people, like, especially when my husband and I first, when our infertility journey ended, we lost 3 babies. We live a life without kids. And so, like, I had to dig my way out of the deep, dark hole of grief. And so I started with a Post-it note. And on that Post-it note, every day I wrote 5 things: eat, sleep, drink water, move your body, and I added one thing, which was color. So, like, eat, sleep, drink water, move your body. That is not self-care. Those are necessities. We are not robots. We are human beings. Those are the foundations of being a human, right? Like, but, like, sometimes, especially when we're in the hole, or when we're in really dark seasons, you got to start with the foundations. And so, like, it helped me to see on that Post-it note: eat, sleep, drink water, move my body. I want you to add a 5th thing, though. Like, for me, it was, I colored in a coloring book, because I knew the research. I knew that people that meditated, that sat and just, like, rested and learned how to, like, be with themselves, like, they were happier, healthier people. We know that when you meditate, your brain looks amazing, and all the brain scans. there was no way I was going to be able to meditate at that season of my life. I'm not naturally that like Zen person anyways. There's no way. We also know when you color for like 10 minutes, your brain looks like you meditated. And so I colored. I bought the adult coloring books. I bought the kid coloring books. I bought the paint by diamonds. I bought the color paint by numbers. Like I colored for 5 to 10 minutes a day. And that was my checklist, right? Like eat, sleep, drink water, move my body, color. And I checked it off every day. It was never perfect. And then like a week or two of doing it where I was pretty steady with it. Then you add one more thing, right? Then you add like the full workout, right? Or you're going to actually maybe Google the therapist, right? Like you add one more thing, and then a couple weeks of doing all those things, you add another thing, and you just like slowly add to what it takes to show up in this world. It actually does take quite a bit to maintain health and happiness, mental health, alongside all of the things that are life. And so, but then also we have to know and meet ourselves with grace. You will fall off track. You'll screw it up. And then your brain will be like, well, I'll start on Monday. Right? Or like, oh man, I miss Monday. So like, I'll start on the 1st of the month. No need. Like you're going to take a deep breath and meet yourself with self-compassion. Right? Like, because the judging and berating and shaming of yourself of like, you're such an idiot. Why can't you just do this? Why can't you just like, seriously, it's a 5 checklist post-it. Just do it. Right? That's not helpful. Like all of that shaming yourself will never create change. Shame does not create change because it's only disconnection, and change does not happen in disconnection. Change and growth and healing only happen in connection. So we're going to meet ourselves with self-compassion. Like, all right, you kind of screwed this up. You are off track, and you're going to take a breath, and the next breath, you're going to hold yourself accountable and begin again. I don't need people to start over. I don't really I know it's like, it sounds just like semantics, but I don't like the word start over. Like, because I don't need you to throw everything out. I don't need you to start all the way over. I need you to learn what worked, what didn't go so well, and simply begin again. Choose the next best thing. Sometimes it's the right thing. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's just the easiest thing. Choose it. It's one step to begin again.
So many nuggets there, Justine. I'm like, there's so much life that you just breathed. And I was finding myself like inhaling with you and walking that through. I also, it's glad to know that you like the coloring books. I actually have search and finds. Like, remember we were kids in the back of highlights, you can buy, I found this like mega book a few years ago. It's like hundreds of pages of search and find. It's the coolest thing. And then I actually do connect the dots. I think those are like really fun and silly. So it's like connect the hundreds of dots. And I don't know what I'm making half the time until they're all connected, but I feel kind of artistic because I can draw.
I love that. I love that idea. I know when I did my first paint by numbers, I'll be like this. I was like, this is going to look terrible. And then when I finished, I was like, oh my gosh, look at this shading. Like I'm a total artist.
Yeah.
Numbers, but whatever.
Well, so much of it's just trusting that process, which I mean, to me, it parallels exactly what we're talking about, right? That it's
so true.
It's okay to not know where the end is, but to just continue in that next space. So on the note of things that, I don't know, they're adult friendly and child friendly to color and do all these things. So you have a picture book coming out about emotional literacy. I'm so intrigued. Can you tell us about it, where we can find it?
Yeah. So it's so fascinating. So I have a children's illustration book. It's about the monarch life cycle, and I've got a secular version and the faith version. And so like I had this idea. We have a little dog that, well, my vet tells us that there's a reason we don't breed these two breeds together. And they are accidental litters, and there's got to be weird families like us to adopt them, right? And that's Chad and I. But like, so Winston he's a rat terrier Chihuahua. So he is well, he's the smartest dog we've ever had. We have not figured out how to use his intelligence for us.
Okay, you got to paint the picture though, because we're talking about picture books. So like, what color is this guy?
So he's black and white. He's black and white, black head with a big, mostly white body, speckled, right? Like, and I actually just got the renderings. My illustrator just sent me the first renderings of the children that are in the book. And then Winston, she's like, what do you think? She goes, I need you to send me as many pictures and videos of Winston. So like, So Little Winston and His Big Feelings is the title of the book. And because we realized just he's very loyal, but he has all these big feelings. And so like when he has big feelings, he gets a ball and he just squeaks and plays and plays and plays and plays. Like when he's like, like I think a lot of people, we have to admit, us dog owners, one of the best parts of having a dog is their unconditional, wild, joyful love when you come home. It's amazing. They are always happy to see you. Winston is so happy to see us, though, that he cannot greet us. Like he's the worst greeter ever, like, because he's so overwhelmed. And so like we were like, Chad goes, go get your feelings ball, bud. Like, go get your feelings ball. And he looked at me, he goes, that's a children's book. And I was like, oh my gosh, emotional literacy, like teaching kids right off the bat, all of the feeling words, not all of them, because there's like 87 of them is the current research, but teach like, there's a lot of different kinds of mad. There's a lot of different kinds of sad, right? Like, so teaching kids right off the bat, it's way more than just happy, mad, sad, surprised, disgusted, and afraid. That's what I was taught. And I remember being like, that's it. But like more than that, how do we name it? How do we feel it in our bodies? How can we move it through our bodies? Because that so much of the new research is that nervous system, we have to move it through. Otherwise it stays stuck. And so Little Winston is going to guide the reader through that process of how to feel your feelings, how to name them, how to speak them, how to cope with them, and how to move them through. So that I'm excited.
Therapy
like,
dog. You're taking therapy dog to like a whole different level.
And you know what? He would be the word. We always joke. Winston is the most popular dog of ours. We have 3 little ones on Instagram and Facebook. Like, like people love Winston. And so I always have to tell people like, I know you love him, but he does not love you. He only loves Chad and I, right? Like, so like he's going to get his own book and it's going to be very popular because he is the cutest dang dog in the world and so sweet, but he has a lot of big feelings. And I mean, how many times have I, helped my friends who all of our friends have 3 kids, right? And they're like, she just has so many feelings. Oh my gosh. He is like, whenever they say teenage girls are bad, like they haven't really had a boy, right? And it's just like, no, it's just that their little brains aren't fully developed yet. And you're not really teaching them or modeling for them how to name their feelings or cope with them in a healthy way because we're not doing it because we also weren't taught how to do it. And so, yeah, they have big feelings. It's not a bad thing at all. Let's befriend our feelings, invite all of them to the table, name them, cope with them, move it through so that they don't own us. They can still be big though, because I think that's okay.
Sometimes feelings are big. So help us know too. So picture book, I'm thinking like really young. What age are you trying to guide this book to?
I don't know. That's how I feel like that's, I mean, I've published, Little Winston and His Big Feelings will be my 11th book. And it's always so hard to choose ages, especially, so this will be my 3rd technically children's book. And so like, it's like, I want to be like, no, it's ages 0 to 100. Like,
children of all ages is how I talk about my children's book. I'm like, everyone can read it. Yeah, everyone can.
But it's like, how many of us, I can't tell you how many times I'm in a corporate training workshop and we're doing emotional literacy, how to name your feelings. There's way more different kinds of, there's a lot of different kinds of mad and sad. And people just look at me like, oh my gosh. Like, I know this, right? Like I know
I've experienced this.
Right. I felt it my whole life, but no one's ever actually said it. And it's this huge aha. And so I want to start equipping kids earlier. So maybe they're not as unhealthy as we are, as our generation, because we're pretty sick. And I think a lot of unhappy people. And so like, and a lot of it's just like, I want you to befriend your emotions. Truly.
So good. And I'm thinking adult and child together, like everyone gets educated at once, and such a beautiful thing.
My last book, I technically wrote it for preteens and we marked it but the word kids is in the title. So 100 devotions for kids dealing with anxiety. And the most messages I get on that book are families who read it together, like at the breakfast table or dinner table. And I have like kind of like journaling prompts in it. And so like how many parents have messaged me and just said, I've never asked them these kinds of questions, or like, it's sparked a conversation with us that we've never really had. And so like, it really, when you read it together, it's just really so powerful. And I think this book will be the same.
Sounds absolutely like it. Okay, Justine. So I hope people stayed with us, because we kind of like really made you emotionally work through some stuff.
Yeah.
And you're welcome. I'm going to say that in advance, because this is good for you. It's good for your family. It's good for your heart. It's good for your relationship. So I hope that you stuck through the episode. Tell other people about it. But as we wrap up, I'm wondering, I know mental health is not a 1-hour pill. It's not a podcast episode. There's so much more to that. Right. And you touched many different audiences, and people listening might work somewhere that might want to reach out to you, or there might be individuals that are thinking, I don't even know where to get started. So can you leave us, Justine, with some resources around how do we continue to care for ourselves?
Yep. So I'm an avid reader. There's so many resources out there, like the TED Talks, the YouTube videos. I know not everyone loves TikTok, but dang it, I've learned so much from TikTok. Like, there's just this element. And so like, and I share this work every day on the social media platforms. I'm really easy to find, just my name, Justine Froelker. So like, pick your favorite platform.
Hold on, Justine, hold on. Her last name is really hard to spell and to say. Like, we had to go over it before we got on air. So can you spell your last name for people?
So it's Froelker, F as in Frank, Roelker.
I know I'm going to find you. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I always tell people, when people are like, oh, like, connect with me on Facebook, I'm like, no, Kelly Smith, you find me. There's only one Justine Froelker. Like, and I look like my profile picture, like, because that's part of like my authenticity brand, right? Like, I'm always like, I can't find you. You don't look like that picture's 10 years old, right? But I work really, one of my values is courage. And one of the things that I do every day is to stay in alignment with that value is I write. And so a lot of, yes, that's book projects and things like that, but a lot of it's my social media posts for the day. So like, I really try to share the courage work and just how I live this out, the different stories that I hear in my different events. And so like, I always tell people, like, you go with Instagram, you're going to get more puppies and butterflies. However, I can pretty much turn anything into a courage teach at this point. So I will share those puppies and butterflies on LinkedIn, because I really choose to see the lessons in pretty much everything that comes across my life, really. And so, but there are endless resources. I always tell people, like, if you want to go down a rabbit hole of Justine content, you can. Don't use it to numb, right? But like, there's a lot of content out there, but like, there's also just tons of, Brené's TED Talks are amazing. Those places to start, like, there are so many resources. It is true. You're struggling with something, Google it. Like, you'll find a great article, you'll find an Instagram account, and it's not to fix you, because we don't need to be fixed. We need to feel loved. It is to provide you with some resources. Take what resonates and leave the rest. You don't have to have all of it apply, right? Like, we don't have to agree with everyone, but just like, take what hits the nudge a little bit and then walk it out. And you do that enough over and over and over, I do think you'll start to feel better and feel more whole and present, and really walk in just how loved you are.
It's so great. I will speak from personal experience that sometimes I don't know the words of what's going on when I go to Google, and I've just kind of thrown that out the window, and I've actually learned the words for what to call the things by just Googling, like, this is what's going on. So totally. Thanks, Google. Little shout out to Google. Thanks for having a really good search engine that helps us help ourselves.
So true. So
Justine, this was so much fun. I think some of our listeners are like, Justine and Marcy are like getting so much packed in, high energy. And hopefully our listeners are leaving with hope, with some self-love. And I hope you've gotten some practical tips on things you can do for yourself, for your family, and those relationships. So Justine, thanks so much for sharing all of your expertise and for letting us know how to spell your last name.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me, Marcy. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Listeners, did you know that you've helped the Forgotten Adoption Option podcast rank in the top 30% most followed podcasts on Spotify? You are helping waiting children be seen, and you're teaching our nation how to adopt these children. You can help this podcast reach more future adoptive parents by leaving a review and continuing to share this podcast with others. You can even help others know that instead of Googling to try to figure out how to adopt, they should go to ForgottenAdoptionOption.com, where they can learn the step-by-step process, tips for enduring the journey, and I even have a children's book to celebrate the forever families all around us. It means so much that you took the time to listen to this episode. And on behalf of the 113,000 children who each has a name, a story, and dreams, and deserves to grow up experiencing the love and support that is found in a forever family, I thank you so much for caring.